Over time, the educational system has snowballed a couple of extra steps. One of those steps is standardized testing. That way, students can learn how to perform a task throughout the year, and then stress themselves into a new plane of existence during exam period, while attempting to perform the same 4-week task in a number of minutes that doesn't even surpass double digits. I know the idea is to improve over time in both quality and speed, but 4 weeks, 90 minutes, big jump. Perhaps it sounds concerning, and it should, because it's only the beginning. School is the middleman in between being brought into life and living as part of society. You learn basic skills in primary school, then you move to high school, where you decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Of course, it's a decision you can change, but that's not necessarily something they tell you, possibly hence the anxiety rates. To avoid oversaturating the industry with fully qualified and fully trained people for positions that don't have enough positions in them, university or college or prioritizes based on skill, which means having to measure skill, so some kind of system has to exist, but whether or not the standardized testing system we have now is an accurate measure of skill is subject for debate. High schools gradually narrow students down over the years to a few set but broad-spectrum paths which should, hopefully, be close enough to the university course you want to get into. Where's professional cap padding? Is that a thing? As far as subjects go, they often end up being a little too broad, but when you're dealing with cheap education for the masses, and you're probably already underpaying staff, it's kind of the best you can do. At the end of these paths, your relevant level of skill should determine your priority in university. If you're a fan of metaphors, which I definitely am, education is the bridges across the stones of life, and the bridges are used as a trading route for ants, where the amount of food the ants are holding is their skill level, hence the prioritization. And the sad boy looking down on them is the education department, rather than me with no friends. The problem is, measuring skill isn't as simple as ants bringing food. It's more of a complex set of subroutines, which define sets of talents that are all relevant to varying degrees depending on minute details which aren't measurable or preparable for in advance. All considering, trying to make a system completely specified to each individual subsector would be delimiting, dangerous, and extraordinarily expensive. Think training someone to work in one exact position in one exact company, provided they only get a few set tasks when they work there. That's sort of limiting. Plus, measuring a complex set of subroutines which defines sets of talents that... You get the point. Is something which high schoolers put down to standardized testing. Because what better way to measure the skills that someone has acquired over 18 years of life than in 90 minutes? I mean, grading methodology is certainly a tough decision to make, but trying to use the same testing system for maths and English is like trying to use the same quantitative system for measuring distance and eggplants. When someone asked, what should we put in the standardized English test, it's really disappointing that nobody stopped them to tell them they just asked completely the wrong question. One should ask, how can we measure English ability? Not start at the standard and try and cut the rest of the world to fit. Essays are not something that are likely to be speed-read and written. Short stories are written, edited, and rewritten. Video analysis doesn't work because analytical rewatching takes all of eternity, which is round about how long I've spent in school. And poetry is, poetry. It's too subjective to measure without offending someone. Plus, in modern day, none of these are handwritten anymore. I'm getting wrist cramps just thinking about it. You could theoretically squeeze graphic design into a standardized test by giving people a limited time to design something, but the last time I had a graphic design test, I had to write an essay on the history of video game graphics. Now I know what you're thinking. Hold on. How do you do research for an essay about technology and the internet without technology and the internet? To do research on technology with the internet for the essay about technology and the internet. On the internet, but without technology. Well, yes, one would think making a research paper without being able to research during the writing period would be a bit of a problem, but not for Standardized Testing Incorporated, because instead of deciding the entire thing was a bad idea, they just gave us a few weeks in advance to research. Which means they also gave us the topic in advance, which means we didn't actually write the essay in the set time period we were given because we'd already written it before, because we had to, because we weren't allowed to research during the testing period. But now we were rewriting it, just in a time limit? Wait, isn't this just testing typing speed now? I mean, I can type super fast, but that's not really a fair way to measure how good I am at graphic design! Is the problem starting to seem a little clearer here? Pretty much all of standardized testing revolves around creating specific rules for a broad set of curricula that just aren't specific, then making sure they're adhered to level the playing field. It's all well and good that you're leveling the field, but I feel like you're kind of leveling the football field to play bowling here. Nobody handwrites essays anymore! Change is scary, but we moved on from quills and we will move on from pens. This whole trying to aid lost children find their way in the world is tricky business. Measuring skills is trickier business because it's so hard to put such non-linear skills on a linear scale. I don't even know where I'd start with this whole system, but it shouldn't be here. The future isn't some minute point we can narrow down on. It's this huge broad spectrum of skills and talents that we will never quite encapsulate completely, but at the moment we don't seem to be trying very hard at all. Subjects are missing all over the place, and tests are so far from what they're supposed to be testing anyway. There's never going to be a testing system which works for everything, so why try? The set of standardized tests we have may put us on a scale, but that doesn't mean it's the right one. As it stands, tests are passed better when crammed for than when studied for throughout the year, which means a great deal of students learning something for 2 days before they forget it completely, and being given a score which is only indicative of what their abilities were on that day, and not necessarily what their abilities will be literally every other day of their life. When singular points in time are more important than average and expected production value, something is clearly wrong. And when that something is something that will define the lives and futures of the majority of the people on planet Earth, and is currently defining those lives as stressed, depressed, and incapable, that something isn't to be ignored. I don't work in the educational system, and I don't necessarily have the power to change anything, but as someone who went through a version of the educational system that nobody currently in charge has actually first-hand experienced, I'd like to say, we need to change something. Let people display themselves as best as they can in their skills in a way that's relevant to the industry. Never mind the absurd time limits, clinging to the past with writing utensils, and strict information methodology. When you make people write on a smaller piece of paper, they will write smaller, not bringing less information. The testing system is our set of round holes for square pegs. How well we fit isn't relevant at all. When all the tests aren't so standardized and are a little closer to the subject they're actually trying to replicate, when we're all a little less form-fit, the future will write itself.